here. I don't know. What did I do? Hold on. How do I open this back up? No, is it Firefox? Hold on. Where'd it go? Oh, Chrome. That's it. Okay, how conservatives trick you into marrying modern women. Okay, 11. Okay, we're going to talk here. I should point out that I'm continuing to develop my in-depth documentary on modern divorce with a huge emphasis on to point out that many of these people are religious in name only. The Institute for Family Studies, which in reality is nothing more than a pro-marriage propaganda outlet masquerading as a scholarly organization, have made great hay with the claim that regular church attendance seems to correlate with a 50% reduction in the likelihood of divorce. In fact, this claim ties back to a 2018 Harvard study, which found that super devout Christians who attended church more than once a week reduced their likelihood of divorce by 42%. Not those who attended once a week, and certainly not those who attended less. Broken down, this is a 32% reduction of risk for Protestants who attended church more than once a week, and a 54% reduction for Catholics who showed up multiple times a week. The difference between the two largely being the greater hostility towards divorce within Catholicism. Nevertheless, 28% of super devout Protestants, 16% of super devout Catholics who attended church multiple times per week still ended up getting divorced, a risk of roughly 1 in 4 for Protestants and a Russian roulette risk of 1 in 6 for Catholics. Furthermore, according to Pew data and also Lifeway's research, only 12% of both Catholics and Protestants attend church more than once per week, with most of these people being middle-aged or older, not in their 20s and 30s. So even if men were to make the commitment of being super devout, there would be nowhere near a large enough pool of available church girls to go out with. So despite what fake tradcons would tell you, religiosity is hardly a solution for the male population to overcome the risks of divorce. But as I mentioned, most members of the fake tradcon could give a damn about the male population at large. They're mostly interested in using the divorce issue as a foil for recruitment. And it goes without saying that not all super devout women who don't believe in divorce will necessarily be all sweetness and light after the wedding. Some men will find themselves trapped in toxic marriages with female religious fanatics who call all the shot, are stingy with sex, and weigh their husbands down with all sorts of unreasonable demands and moral standards. Never mind the massive potential for a religious wife to turn out to be a hypocrite. We shall probably never know what percentage of super devout marriages are genuinely happy and what percentage are not, since keeping up with the appearances and keeping marital problems secret are a notorious part of how super devout couples operate. But what are the benefits of matrimony to men? Marriage advocates frequently talk about how, on average, married men benefit from greater health, happiness, and financial success. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics indicates that married men earn 10 to 20% more than single ones. But please bear in mind that is largely due to a higher financial burden placed upon a married man. Yes, there is the cost of children, but more significantly is the average cost of materially satisfying a wife. Now, part of this is evolution. Women's nesting habits can prompt the purchase of everything from a nice house to silverware to otherwise useless throw pillows. And part of this is social status, with women being far more likely to push for luxury brands or to go on 2 vacations a year. All told, a wife can quadruple a man's household expenditures. Meanwhile, a single man can be satisfied with far fewer possessions, mostly the basic essentials, plus some recreational purchases like TVs, game consoles, and sound systems. Beyond that, the most single men are satisfied with far less, some even being perfectly happy with a studio apartment and a mattress on the floor. In short, married men earn 10 to 20% more money because their wives make it so they have to. As for happiness, the General Social Survey in 2022 indicated that roughly 33% more married men ticked the box for being very happy compared to single men. And a 2019 article in the Journal of Marriage and Family found that depression was 47% less common among married men than their single counterparts. However, that's really not the whole picture. According to the Journal of Psychological Medicine, the 40 to 45% of married men who get divorced see their depression rates skyrocket again by 312%, far outstripping the depression rates seen among single men. So congrats if you're married and it works out. I'm not denying that there are successful marriages to good women that could potentially make men happy. The point is that men today are running a considerable risk to the tune of 40 to 45% of those attempts at happiness blowing up in their face and leaving. Okay. I have a video coming out about what your actual odds are in marriage. But yeah, here, let me go here.
Part of the past. If you go back and you look at the English This has all been there. People were getting their heads chopped off. The Crusaders were doing their things across countries, and they were spreading Christianity through threats and violence.
What does that have to do with anything?
Now, that's what you're trying to uplift. That's what you're trying to uphold.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
You wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
That's where you're lacking.
I have no
so
idea.
Catch up. You're sitting across from me.
What does the Crusades have to do with divorce?
That was when your holy marriage was the best marriage that you're trying to go to. Now, listen.
In the 1950s?
So what he's saying is you can't romanticize the past. If you weren't there, you don't know. You can speculate based on evidence, but I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't want to be a farmer. And if I was born in the 1950s, I would have to be a farmer.
Were we crusading in the 1950s?
No.
What the hell are you talking about?
You talked about the institution of marriage for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Sir, do you need me to catch you up on what you're talking about? You're having trouble keeping up with me. You're having trouble keeping up with me. You said 2,000 years ago.
Truly,
and I told you 2,000 years ago, they were chopping people's heads off.
Which has what to do with anything?
I need you to catch up with me, sir.
Okay.
If you want to take things back to the past, you have to accept everything as the past. You can't just cherry pick. Now, here's the thing. You're cherry picking. If you want to take things back to tradition, take it all the way back. Why stop at the 50s? Take it back to the 1890s.
What you're saying right now is so incoherent. I actually don't even understand
Well,
it.
that's what, listen, when you're running out of bullets.
No, that made sense to me. It's because we have a tendency as people to romanticize different eras, but it doesn't really matter. Like, it's kind of a useless conversation because we're alive today. There's pros and cons of every generation. The 1950s, my husband probably would have died in the war, or I'm working on a farm. Screw that. I want to be a streamer. Sorry. Yeah.
Running out of bullets. The last thing you do is the shame. All right.
Listen, I'm not even trying to shame you. It's just incoherent.
I need you to catch up with me.
Okay. Catch me up.
Just say you're lacking if you can't keep it up.
It's
all right. Now here's the problem.
It's incoherent.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the problem you're having.
2,000 years ago, they were chopping heads off. Who gives a shit?
Listen,
what does that have to do with anything?
You said 2,000 years ago. I'm coming up with yours. Your holy religious 2,000 years ago. It's been a part of the institution.
What does that have to do with this?
Exactly. Here's the problem. You're cherry picking.
Cherry picking what?
Listen.
I'm listening.
I'm going to slow you down. I'm going to slow you down because I see what you're doing here. I'm going to slow you down.
Okay.
Because it's hard for you to keep up.
It is.
I understand. I understand because you haven't been across. This is your toughest debate. Your audience knows this.
Oh, it's rough.
There's no God in marriage.
Okay.
In the United States.
Yeah.
Can we agree to that? When you get to divorce, there's no God in marriage.
We can't agree to that.
We need to agree to it because when you go into divorce court, there's no God. You can't bring in your God in your Bible.
I want to see. Here we go. This was a stay-at-home traditional wife.
You're here. Okay. Thank you.
I filed a motion for temporary orders on 3 different specifics. One is to have John vacate our marital home. Secondly, for the court to accept my proposed parenting plan. And thirdly, to have a court order mandating.
Okay, so someone's saying in the chat, they're saying history is relevant. And this is kind of how people get manipulated, not always intentionally. Okay, if the women in the 50s were a certain way, does that matter to the women you have to pick from today? No. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if things were once one way, if they are one way today.
That John pay child support and spousal maintenance. We've been married for 16 years. I have been the at-home mother to our 5 children and have homeschooled them for the last 9 years. I also manage the majority of our children's extracurricular activities, which includes their involvement in Boy Scouts, orchestra, piano lessons. Recently, my boys are now involved in a hunting certification class, and I often carpool for my son's Irish dance class. I have chosen our children's pediatrician, settlement, or...
Okay, so she's a stay-at-home wife. She says that part. Let me go to the part where he...
Together in the house. The kids want to...
Okay, now we're gonna talk to where the guys talk.
So what I don't need repeated. What I need to know is you have indicated he makes X amount of money, and your basis for doing that is you went through all the bank records and you came and you spelled all those bank records out, and this is the money he's made. He's indicated in his taxes he makes X amount of money and significantly less. I want to know what the difference between the two of you is. That's it. I don't need to know everything that's in the paper. I want to know why your position is right, and he's going to tell me why his position is right.
Mine is documented with bank statements.
Anything else?
No.
To try to summarize what's going on, she's unhappy in the marriage. That's what she wants is a divorce. We're one big happy family. We work together. She just moved out of the big bed 2 or 3 months ago, and we get along fine. There's no danger. There's no abuse. My business is integral to staying in the house because there is all the inventory, which she also didn't mention, and all the UPS.
What's the inventory?
The suits. I'm a custom tailor, so there's all kinds of things in the office. The whole bedroom is full of feral apparel. It's very disruptive to move it anywhere. We do just fine together in the house. The kids want us to stay married. Everything works just fine as it is, and I would submit that to try to break this up or do something or make a decision today would not be wise. I would petition that we have an evaluation done for our family with a social worker, a master's in social work, to help us find out what really is in the best interest of the children versus breaking this up, which I propose.
Okay, so long story short, he gets kicked out of the house. He's a custom suit designer with a housewife. Catholic guy. He like sent me his footage. And yeah, and now he's getting kicked out of his marital home. The audacity. Okay.
And at that particular point, none of your ecclesiastics marriage works.
Okay.
Period.
So the thing is, you just said, can we agree that there's no God in marriage? And then he switched,
You don't have to agree.
but hang on, calm down. And then you switched over to divorce. There's no God in divorce. But those are two different questions and proposition. Hang on, relax. The second thing is that me saying that what made marriage a great institution is this whole Sky Daddy character, and that the institution has been in place for 2,000 years, and it's been, hang on, calm down.
2,000
and it's
years.
been a strong institution. I'm not actually sure how tying in.
You gotta let men know what they get out of this, because all the churches, they're going to be dead by the end of the century because they just cannot tell men like what they're going to get out of this.
That at the time they cut people's heads off, what that has to do with the fact that in the 1950s and 40s, you still had 95% of these marriages staying together. This is not ancient history. This is not even early American history. Hang on. That's in your grandfather's lifetime, basically. And this, by the way, that was the case for black marriages as well. Very strong institutions. Correct. But all of those institutions were that way because they followed that whole Sky Daddy thing. Correct. They were like, oh, that Sky Daddy's going to smite us if we don't. And so what you do here is you're giving the classic.
I don't think women have ever feared God. But I think it's more, like women. Sorry, I just don't believe women ever have had the fear of God in them. Eve didn't fear God, but it was more pragmatic. Women had to stay with beta bucks back then. It's not like we wanted to. We'd rather die than be with beta bucks, but we had to then.
Progressive argument, which is, well, guys, it is true that it's a great institution, and it is true it's the best place in the world to have children for the continuation of the species. And also, it's fantastic for men's health. It's fantastic for their mental health. It's great for them in almost every way. But that divorce thing is real bad. And I counter. You're right. That divorce thing is real bad. We have now a center of agreement. But now we're going back to the marriage in the West thing, which is that whole great institution problem. Well, if we agree that what made it good, which you just did, is, hey, that Sky Daddy guy, and then I point out that right now you can still utilize that Sky Daddy guy for an ecclesiastical marriage outside of the state. Hang on. And
women don't fear God.
The only thing you could do is say, well, what about common law? But you can't govern anybody from common law. And at least in the ecclesiastical institution, you have social pressures on women to.
All right. So if Andrew wants to argue, maybe it's like better than regular marriage by a little bit. Sure. But Look, Andrew, again, it goes back to like you can put these studies in front of my face, but at some point people are going to believe their eyes over time. And I have seen one, I grew up in a religious area and I've seen how terrible those wives are. So I know you're not getting anything special by picking a religious woman. I know you're not. I know. And I know the reaction to that is though those women don't count. They weren't real religious women. I'm like, yeah, really? I don't know. They went to church weekly and like one of my best friends, her mom cheated at work. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, you could argue maybe it's slightly better, but a lot of people got divorced eventually where I'm from.
Stay married. You can't offer a man anything like that. Give me a single social pressure you can offer that would actually keep these marriages together. One. What? One. Just one.
Can I answer something
Yeah.
you just said? This would be interesting.
I can't wait.
You said,
but can you answer that question then?
No, before.
Oh, of
the
course.
1940s.
Of course, you gotta ask me a question.
Because listen,
I'm
listening to you. You asked the question at the end. If you would have asked it at the beginning, possibly I might have been able to address it. But let me address this point.
Okay.
You said the 1940s and 1950s with this imaginary sky daddy controlling marriages. That sounds like enforcement. Because by the time the 1970s came around, the very first chance women got to file a no-fault divorce without need for evidence, without need to have a private investigator to prove an affair.
Was no fault the 70s?
Yes, it was the 70s, started by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I'll educate you.
But hang on.
Came along. Hold on for a second. No. I got the floor here. I got the floor. So you said the religious institutions governed it and made it great. The 1970s came along, and as soon as they did, women started to file divorces at record
Yeah, as soon as women could leave betas, they did. Women hate being with beta male providers.
rates, which is back to my conversation. Soon as you remove the authority of Sky Daddy, now you're back with the state. And now you have difficulty, and now the risk is now greater.